It's Monday, April 28th, back out in the shop again with another little tweak on the captive pull pin for my music adjustment bracket. I'll turn the camera around here so you can see what I've been working on. What I've decided to do is remake the pieces that attach to the vertical post. The original ones were all out of solid brass. Well, I drilled a 1/4 inch hole all the way through it, then turned down the diameter to create a 3/8/16 thread on the end. And that generally worked, except that if you look closely, you can see that the thread does not get all the way to the edge there. That's because I used this die to create the thread, and it's just impossible to get this die tight up to that surface. Single point threading on my lathe is not something I've taken on yet, and that would solve that issue. But the way I've decided to solve it is to remake these pieces using a bolt. And I should have got my bag out. I didn't have the bag of bolts, but I took a 3/8/16 standard bolt and put it inside of each one of these now. So I made new pieces here where I've drilled a 5/16 hole, which is the diameter you need to create a 3/8/16 thread. So the inside of this is threaded to accept this bolt that goes all the way through. And I've cut it off on this end and cut it off on that end and trimmed it on this end just so that it's the right length. But you can see with this, now that I have a bolt in there that's fully threaded, it goes right up to the edge of this piece. So I'm going to have all my threads fully engaged, and I really like that. Now there is one tricky thing about putting a bolt in this piece, is if you don't secure that bolt, even though it's threaded and it won't generally move, it could twist over time. And if you're playing around with this, something like that, it's possible to back this whole thing off, and then that would change the whole setting here, and that's not good. So to accommodate that, I drilled a hole all the way through this section here. It's hard to see with my camera going in and out of focus, but I drilled a hole through this section all the way through, and then you can see it here. I then threaded it for an 832 rod. So that goes all the way through. Now I did that before I drilled all the holes through there. So now once that's in there, even though there's still even though there's a hole all the way through, I've got a threaded rod that's going to go all the way up to here, and it's going to mechanically stop it on that side and on this side. So that's going to secure that bolt that's been trimmed off and keep that nice and secure. So I really like that. It's a little bit more work, but I think in the overall, it's going to be a better situation. Just to kind of review how the whole device works, there's a 1/4 inch hole that runs all the way down to about this section here, and that creates a shoulder to stop this shoulder here. So this piece, when it's on the inside and it's pulled back so that the front of the rod, wish my camera would stay in focus, is even with this section here, so that when you're turning it, there's no interference. But I created this shoulder in here so that when you pull this part back, it knows where to stop. Now the other end of this piece is of course turned down. I think you can see I threaded that for a 632 screw. And how that is joined in is there's a shoulder on the other end of the pull pin. I think you can see there's the shoulder, so that piece goes in like this, and it stops on that shoulder. And when it stops on that shoulder, then I've got a countersunk piece on this end where this 632 screw goes in and attaches it like that. So you can see how these are done. So that holds the whole thing together, and I really like this new way of doing it. Again, it's a little more work to put that 3/8/16 bolt in there and then trim it on both ends and get it right. But in the end, it's going to work. I'm going to like it better. It's able to engage the full thread when you put them in there, And of course, the sections are turned down a little bit on each end. Gives you that visual place of that you just intuitively know where to pull that pin. You turn it to the next section you want. If you watched my videos before, you already know how it technically works. But I like the new adjustment. And when it goes time to actually put these together, I will put some glue here to finally glue it in here. But I won't do that till I'm totally done with all of them. Again, this is just my mock-up piece. I've got 3 bars ready to go here, so I have to refix those so that they will accept the threaded bolt here. So that's the latest from the shop on this Monday, April 28th.